Ladies and gentlemen, what would life look after COVID-19? Everybody talks about an economy that's going to remain stagnant and linger for a long, long time. And then you have everybody else talking about a V-shaped recovery and we're just going to come all the way back up after everything happens. I'm going to talk about a bull market that's not going to come, not only is going to come, but is already here. We're going to go over some names, and I'll give you my 2 cents. Talk about why people are sitting in their homes itching to spend. And of course, we're going to talk about logic, something that my ex wife wished she had. I am Mark Melnick, and this is the Newsbeat Show. All right. Have to have a little bit of humor in this market. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newsbeat Show. What does life really look like after COVID-19? Everybody paints very dramatic pictures. It on one side, anybody on TV is everything is back to normal and more and things will be stronger than ever. Then the rest is nobody's going to be able to bounce back, all the businesses will be failing, people will be afraid to spend. And I wanted to just talk about some of the logical points here because logic is a very important factor to me in the market. For example, I don't do many overnights. I took Roku calls yesterday before the close, and Roku over here absolutely exploded this morning. It opened up at 96.79, ran over $100. I sold it right away in the morning. My calls went up. I mean, the calls were valued about they were 250% higher, so I made like 150% about of my money on an overnight. And then logic also brought me to a point where the Boeing CEO came out and said if the US government wants a stake in the company to lend us money, then we don't want their help. And then the president came out and said, we're going to save Boeing no matter what. So we have a situation where we have the president saying we're definitely going to help you. And on the other side, you have Boeing who's saying, yeah, we'll take your help, but you're not getting common shares of stock. And then what happened after that happened with Boeing is it just started rallying here. Here's 3 o'clock right into the close. Just started popping. I went ahead and I bought some Boeing lottery tickets, $150 calls. And you could see Boeing right now. It's up a bit more earlier on. It was up about 12 and a half points earlier on. Now it's only up $8 and change, but looking real good for tomorrow. That is how you bring logic into the market. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring logic into the economy. What does life after COVID-19 logically look like? Well, people open up their stores again. One thing they are not afraid of is a week later to have a new virus come out and infect them. The same thing wasn't true after the housing bubble. The same thing wasn't true after the tech bubble. The same thing wasn't true after 9/11. After 9/11 happened, even though flying was super safe, people were afraid to fly. I don't really logically see the same thing happening. As soon as you get the headlines where, you know, the number of cases are starting to flatten out, like the curve is starting to flatten out and it's not just like elevating. Once that happens, I don't think people are going to really be afraid to fly. So let me ask you, if you got a headline saying there's no more COVID-19, by the way, there's going to be a memorial for this. Nobody talks about that. I remember after 9/11, I was like, wow, they're going to make a memorial for this. And they had like the huge spotlights, like they almost look like the Batman lights in the sky where the Twin Towers were, and they opened up the memorial over there. But there's going to be a memorial for this, and I'm hoping it's going to actually bring the world together. I have never seen America so united after 9/11. After 9/11 happened, I have never seen I have never seen, I mean, excuse my French, but it didn't matter what skin color you were, it didn't matter what religion you were, it didn't matter anything about you, did not matter. You were either an American or you just weren't a human being if you were in America, because you're an American if you were a human being. And that's all the only thing people cared about. As soon as this virus ends, 9/11 had more of a direct impact on the United States of America. The housing bubble here had the biggest impact in the United States of America. Granted, it could hurt people across the world, but not on a global scale. The COVID-19 is going to be the first event in my known lifetime that is literally going to bring the world together. No, I don't think you're going to have world leaders, in hot tubs making out with each other with champagne bottles. That's not what I mean by that. But I mean, we're going to have a greater sense of unity because it's something that we all conquered. How many of you guys have ever seen the movie, what was it, Independence Day, where the aliens attacked us? Do you remember how humanity, like if we get attacked by aliens, I know, right? The whole world is going to come together as one. There's going to be no, this is Russia, this is North Korea, this is, the Europeans, this is the Middle East, this is the Americans, this is China. No, it's we are earthlings all of a sudden. And we get classified under the bigger umbrella, the more important umbrella. After this COVID-19 ends, I'm going to ask you guys right now, very, very important question. If you got a news headline that COVID-19 was done, how many of you guys would feel safe to fly? I mean, if you're afraid of flying because you're afraid of flying, don't answer the question, but how many people would feel safe to fly or take a cruise? If you're afraid of boats, whatever, don't answer the question. But how many people would feel safe in terms of like you're not going to get ill? If there are headlines all over, there's no more cases going around, how many of you guys would feel safe to fly, safe to drive out, safe to go in crowded places? Type 11 if you would feel safe right now, or 22 if you wouldn't feel safe. And I'm getting to a very major point here, and it's going to explain to you why this bull market is not only going to happen, but is actually in the process of happening right now. And I'm not talking about the silly up move today. I'm going to show you. I'll show you. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is this. The vast majority of people want to, exactly, William, they want to go out and do things. They want to go out and have a good time. That's what they want. They want to go to bars again. Now, the majority of Americans are not good, are amazing at certain things, but not good at others. One of the things that most Americans are not good at is saving money. The majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck in America, which makes this whole thing scary. Let me ask you, what do you think happens when you start sending thousands of dollars to every family and person in America and you open the door and you say, okay, the COVID-19 is gone? Do you think that they're going to be spending like crazy? You know how many people are itching to go out and spend? You know how the supermarkets are crowded now? When you go in the supermarket, I don't know if you live where I live, but if you go in the supermarkets here, it's like you're moving like shoulder to shoulder with people. That's what your Best Buy is going to look like. That's what your Home Goods is going to look like. That's what your shopping malls are going to look like because people want to get the expletive out. They have all this pent up energy and they want to get the heck out of the house. That is exactly what people want to do. So it's very important when people want to do that that you understand what this is going to actually do for the economy. and I'm going to get to my next point here, is the bull market that not only is going to further happen, but is already happening. You see, when you have a $300 stock and it drops 75% in value, let's say. It goes from 300 to $75. Drops 75% in value, loses three-quarters of its value. And the stock goes up to 150 bucks. It actually moved up 100%. Many people will be like, yeah, it's easy to move up 100% when you drop so hard. Do you even understand what some of these option contracts are doing in the market? With this market doing this right now? Let me give you an example. Boeing, such a beaten up company, right? We can all agree. How many people were aware that Boeing went from $89 last Wednesday, today's Tuesday, and in 1 week, I don't know where it's opening up tomorrow, but after hours it was 140 tonight. So it's $51 higher than the low. Now that $51 higher is about 55-60% higher. So let me ask you, if I told you a big company like Boeing went up 55-60%, if I told you that a Carnival cruise line, also last week, we're talking last week into this one, was at 790 and hit 1668 today, people aren't talking that Carnival cruise line went up over 100% in a week. You are going to get the most bullish moves you have ever seen. Now, granted, I'm talking percentage-wise. And yes, you could look back at the charts and say, well, Mark, it was $45, $50 company before this happened. You're right. I can't disagree with that. But you want to know people who start adding to their 401ks down here? Those are the people who are going to be up potentially 5, 6, 7, 800, 900, 1,000% on some of the biggest names in the industry. Even Apple, between yesterday and today, moved up $35.08. $35 bounce in Apple. You see, if I told you that Apple went up 17.5% from yesterday till today, you would think that I was either on drugs, some amazing news story came out, or they had the best earnings ever. But no, there was no big news in Apple that justified this, just the market bounced. And what you're actually seeing in this market already is you're seeing people who are buying the dip. Now, I know you are probably told in this bear market that buying the dip is not the greatest thing to do. I don't know. My charts are telling me differently. For me, my Roku, by buying cheap options, you could have invested, think about it like this. You could have taken a $1,000 bet. Now, keep in mind, you buy 5 shares of Apple. That costs you more than $1,000. That costs you $1,200 today to buy 5 shares of Apple. With a $1,000 bet, zero stop loss. I mean, the most you're going to lose is 1,000, which is very unlikely unless you held it to the bitter end, yada, 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 had absolutely zero risk management skills. Your computer blew up and you fell in a coma and it expired worthless. That's how you lose your full $1,000. But with a $1,000 bet in Roku, you could have been up $2,500 today. Easily. Easily. $1,500, $2,000, $1,000 easily in Roku today. Now, what we do for Newsbeat Live members, and I'm not 100% right, I never have been, I never will, but you're going to get tweets like this. And of course, if you're in the room, you'll hear it too. You'll get things like that, and a lot of these things are moving 100% in our favor just by waking up the next morning. That is the power of options in this environment. In terms of a V-shaped recovery, absolutely, I think that's happening. And I'm going to go over Nike earnings for you guys too. Absolutely, it's going to happen. Do I think when we say V-shaped recovery, I just want to be perfectly clear on it, I don't think we're going to go to all-time highs this year again. I know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think we go to all-time highs this year, but I do want to show you. It wouldn't surprise me, like on the Qs, to get to around here, to get to around there, and basically recover the vast majority of the down move. And then after this, obviously, I think we're going to go down because we're not going higher. So we probably start grinding after this, and then trading becomes a lot less choppy after that happens. But right now, you have people who it just feels like all the negativity on the planet all comes out simultaneously. And I want to tell you that, yes, I do think we get a V-shaped recovery. However, just so we're perfectly clear, if this is the V right here, I think if this is the left side of the V, I think this will look like the right side of the V. More than 50%, but not all the way there. I think it's going to look sort of like that. I'm not even talking as an optimist. If you think this COVID-19 virus is going to kill all of humanity, I humbly believe you're a pessimist, and I humbly disagree, and I beg to differ. We are going to get through this. And you know what? The difference is when you get through this, yeah, you'll have a headline with a new virus coming out 12 months from now, and you're going to see the market overreact and drop real quick because it's going to remember this. But we're going to have a memorial. We're going to get along better than ever with every single country, in my opinion. Call me an optimist. That's fine. I've seen it. I've witnessed 9/11 firsthand. I have photos of the planes crashing into the buildings from my penthouse in the city when I was living there. And I will tell you, the camaraderie of humanity inside New York was like amazing for like a year and a half, 2.5 years. It was incredible how close everyone was before it unfortunately went back to normal. You're going to see this is going to be the first time the world has all come together to fight for the same cause. And no, I'm not talking World War II because everyone did not have the same cause on that. I'm not talking World War One. Everybody did not have the same cause. I am saying this is the first issue that I can remember where everyone on the planet is actually on the same side. And after we get over this, I think you're going to see smooth deals. I think you're going to have amazing trade deals. I think there's going to be a greater appreciation for humanity. And I think we're going to experience a population boom like you've never seen before in ever. You stick people at home together, you could watch TV, eat food, and I'll leave the rest to your imagination. And that sort of family, there's going to be a lot of family values brought back, which are depleted in a lot of countries, including America. The close of the sense of friendship. I think a lot of people are going to get along that didn't get along before. In different countries, in China, it depends what religion, nationality, tribe you're from, literally, when you're in China. You're in the US, it's about, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? Are you in the middle? And you get judged on that. I think all of that, at least temporarily, is going to be pushed aside for the greater good of humanity. When we take this over, it's something that every single person can celebrate. And when that happens, and the government is putting thousands of dollars in people's hands who have no idea what to do with it after penting them up inside their own homes under quarantine, they're going to go out and spend it. and I'm not saying this because we went up today, because today's a Tuesday, by the way. As I said before, you go up every single Tuesday. There's never been a Tuesday since this bear market started where we haven't gapped up big. We've gapped up, oh, actually not big. You actually have a small gap. We gapped up every time, a lot of the times big. We've gapped up on every single Tuesday since this bear market started. So now I want to discuss Nike earnings here with you guys. So Nike earnings were actually, to me, very solid. I want to just go over the numbers here real quick. They went ahead and they reported 53 cents versus the 59 expected. They made 10.1 billion in revenue versus the 9.8 billion in revenue. They say their digital sales in Greater China increased more than 30%, while brick and mortar retail sales were impacted by temporary store closures, obviously. But this is a very good sign that Nike is, did very well. And really, when you have digital sales, you can withhold viruses very well and tragedies very well. So really a beautiful gap up here on Nike. Stock is up to 79.65. Their Q3 brand revenue of 9.6 billion was up 6%. Nike said it opened 80% of its stores in China, and to me that's almost like the battleground. I mean, that was the epicenter of the virus. So it's obviously getting better there if they're opening up their stores in China. Not only that, I kid you not, Nike says they're exploring designs for personal protective equipment. So you have a lot of these companies coming together to fight the virus. Apple is donating millions of the N95 mask, I think they call them, donating them. Nike is creating protective equipment. When was the last time that you saw these corporations, these large, supposedly greedy, couldn't care about anything, scum of the earth CEOs, corporations, right? Because they're worth so much money that obviously makes them evil in a lot of people's eyes. When did you ever see these companies come together for the greater good of humanity? When? Wait till you see the next Nike shirt that says, "We survived, survivor." Check, check with the little Nike check. Wait till you see shirts like that. Wait till you see how humanity rallies around the curing of this virus. Now, we're distributing a lot of tests here in the United States. When you distribute tests that look for the COVID-19, you're going to find it more. The number of cases are going to spike up in the short term massively, inevitably. That happens everywhere where you test. If you test to find something, you're going to find it, right? After I'm just saying, for the people who are very afraid right now, who watch their 401ks get decimated, I'm not a financial advisor, but if I were your financial advisor, which I am legally not, and I'm just talking to myself here, I would tell you, you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to worry about. We have a huge economy. People are going to be hiring again. All these job layoffs, people are not going to stop wanting to work. People are itching to get back to work. And it will happen. And guess what? With the flood of spending that's going to happen, we're going to actually have to hire more people than we did before to compensate for all the inert activity here. That is my logic. I have to spend time with the Newsbeat live room right now and go over some strategy, so I do want to show you tomorrow's levels today. Here they are. Not only that, maybe you're suffering from psychological toxicity. Download my free ebook. Cost you your time to read it. Link in the description. Take advantage of it. So it's day 2 of the Newsbeat challenge. I am going to go to the Newsbeat live room and address the family of what we could do better, new strategies as well as a full review of the day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. Smile now because you're going to remember these times, and when you're happier and in a better spot in the future than you are now, you're going to remember this time and it's going to even make you stronger. Never forget that. Have a wonderful evening.